welcome to Roll for Smaugust. Of course, you know, nice nod to Roll for Sandwich, but a little different, so let's roll some dice. So I'm going to roll 2d4 to figure out which lists I'm going to pick from. We are making a Drake, and then I'm going to roll d6 to figure out what on the list I get. 3 and 4. So the size list and the texture list. For the size list, for the texture list. 1 and 5. So we're gonna have a tiny, sticky Drake. Okay. Well, let's see how that looks. The party had expected to find creepy crawlies or even undead in the old dilapidated village that had been taken over by a swamp over time. They did not expect to get completely wrecked by a lizard no bigger than a house cat. The muck had been thick and the flies a complete menace as they moved their way through the marshland to the old village. The locals said that torrential rains and a misguided attempt at rerouting a waterway had caused their childhood homes to flood one summer nearly 20 years ago. It was slow enough that not many people died on their escape, but many belongings and even some livestock were left behind in the rush. The party was in search of one such belonging. It was the fighter who found it, excitedly calling to the rest of his party from inside a house that still managed to have 4 walls, but half the roof had fallen in. It was quite an unusual sight to stumble upon. A mass of sticks, rocks, household items all seemed to be mashed together in a ball, wedged in the upper corner of the rafters. The size of the thing was unnerving enough. It looked practically like a huge beehive, but the surface of the thing was covered in slick green slime. Sticking out of the side was a lead soldier, the paint mostly worn away by the elements, but it appeared just as the one they'd been sent to find. It was an almost comical quest. A guard had recently lost his father and had been mumbling about the stupid toy in a drunken stupor last night. The barmaid had fancied the man, sent the party to look for it in exchange for looking the other way at some of the bard's indiscretions the night before. It was not meant to be a hard quest, but the party member not ending up in the local prison again was definitely a benefit. The fighter, without a single thought, reached up to the lobby mess and began to yank at the soldier. It did not even budge. He grabbed with another hand and pulled, and it still did not move. The rafter creaked as it was pulled against, and the wood and straw fell around everyone as the roof threatened to collapse. He paused a long moment before turning to the party over his shoulder. I'm stuck. Not even their pious cleric would be able to hold in their laughter at the absurdity of it all. No one heard the rasping growl amidst the chuckles. They did hear the loud hiss and saw a spray of a greenish substance fall from the darkened roof above, landing squarely onto the cleric's chest. They raised a gauntlet, only to have their own hand plastered to their breastplate. What in the goddess? It was the bard who saw the little creature first. A purple and yellow reptile, 1/4 meter long and 3 horns protruding from its head, a sticky slime oozing from its open maw. It reared up a moment before spewing its saliva across the floor, adhering the bard to the spot where he stood. It was only a small creature, but the party of 3 was quite impeded. As the fighter had no free hands, the cleric only having 1, and the bard rendered completely immobile. It took nearly 2 days for the party to return to the barmaid. And they had been quite the talk of the town, as they had most of a rotten old cottage attached in chunks to them, as well as essentially being stuck together in a man-wood, rock, stick, dirt clump with legs. The fighter in the middle, with both arms trapped above his head, his hands buried in a sticky drake's hoard. The wee beastie, proudly sitting atop the gooey mess, not unhappy with its new mobile home. So a bit of an odd creation, but in the end we wound up with the Sticky Drake. Sticky Drake is a tiny dragon, unaligned, with some interesting sticky abilities. So it has keen senses, it has sticky climb, which is basically just spider climb. It has sticky trap, which is basically like a spider's web track, but, you know, sticky spit. The Sticky Drake leaves puddles of saliva that remain tacky for up to 48 hours. Creature that steps in the saliva must take a DC 13 strength saving throw or become restrained. You can try to get it end of each of your turns. It has bite, and then basically it has a ranged spitting attack, +2 to hit, 30 to 60 feet, one creature, and then it's the same thing as the sticky trap. And some lovely little flavor for these guys. Sticky drakes are tiny dragons that can be found most often in areas with a decent amount of civilization. They are drawn to shiny things, but are not limited to objects of value. Sticky drake hordes are more likely to be filled with shiny rocks and spoons more than anything of intrinsic value. This does not mean they protect the hordes any less fiercely than any other dragon. They have an intelligence of 8, so they're a smartish creature, but they're not, you know, full-on super smart creatures. They can understand Draconic, but cannot speak it. They have the sticky spit ability. The drakes use their saliva as a way to move around, licking their own toes to grip slippery surfaces. They will also create horde bundles, sticking their various found items together in a mint sticky ball that can attach to vertical surfaces where they feel it'll be safe. They are ambush predators, leaving large pools of their saliva to capture prey. While they can't consume large prey, their saliva has the power to ensnare up to medium creatures. The drake simply lets those captured begin to rot, so the drake can feast upon the smaller scavengers attracted to the corpse. This includes humanoids. And as pets, some folks have taken these unusual little creatures in as pets, though these people generally have very specific livelihoods to make living with a creature bearable, such as an alchemist. They take well to captivity, as long as you respect their hordes and are able to ignore their saliva getting onto nearly anything you own. Their saliva can be used to create many products, from sticky traps for pest control or a poor man's version of the boots of spider climb. I hope you enjoyed the creation of these guys and my general process. I think they're freaking adorable. I really want to see if I can throw them into a campaign at some point, because they're not like difficult. They're let's see, challenge rating like 1/4, but like I really enjoy giving my parties like difficult terrain and situations they have to figure out, because like that's fun. Not everything has to be hacky slashy stab. So yeah, if you're interested in something like that for your campaign, you are welcome to use the Sticky Drake. I will be uploading them onto DnD Beyond. I will be putting up the mini on Thingiverse, and I will link to their below. I'll link to everything below. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you to my patrons for their unending support, and if you're interested in seeing these things in advance before I post my video, consider becoming a patron. Other than that, thank you so much for being here, and we'll see what we make next week. Anyways, thank you. Happy Smaugust.